This is IGN. The real Skull Trophy is the friends we made along the way. This is your IGN review of Predator Badlands by Clint Gage. Director Dan Trachtenberg takes his third crack at Yautja lore with Predator Badlands, and this time, the protagonist is the galaxy's most notorious trophy hunter himself. It's a pretty wild shift in perspective for the franchise, but one that I think Trachtenberg pulls off. After Prey and Predator Killer of Killers got Hulu-only releases, the Yautja are finally back on the big screen. Predator Badlands follows Dek, a little brother runt of the litter, as he's exiled from his clan and on the deadliest planet in the galaxy trying to earn his stripes. Well, his stripes in a cloaking device. It's a rite of passage storyline that should sound familiar, which is exactly why it works so well for this movie and the point of view change it's attempting. It's hard to flesh out mythology like this, though. Being 7 movies deep into a franchise that's had a handful of twists and turns and failures, deciding where to shift focus is a near impossible task. Trachtenberg's answer to that is an elegant solution, which is to say, just being a little brother can be hard. Aesthetically speaking, the creature design is pretty good. The alien death planet is populated with ravenous flora and fauna, and while they compare unfavorably to the creatures of Avatar, for example, they are better than most. And there's something very engaging about Dek and Thea encountering one deadly thing after another, learning a quick and important fact about them and then killing and eating them. And nothing dies the same way. All those vine things we see him fighting in the trailer, not a single one of them gets a repeat dispatching. To be fair, there is also a certain amount of, and okay, hold on to your shoulder cannons here, cuteness in this movie. It makes sense and it moves the story along, so it's not cuteness just to sell toys or shill a new ride at Disneyland, but it is ironically an alien idea in a Predator movie. Some of it works and some of it doesn't, of course, but Dek is such an earnest young Yautja. The kid tries to make a joke. It's one of the moments that doesn't really work, but it plays as that overly literal style of humor you get from characters like the Terminator. He's just programmed a certain way, and he's slowly learning a different way. But even though the joke didn't fully land, I appreciate the effort. Once you open the door to the Yautja having a language, they can immediately start telling you who they are. From there, it's no surprise that Dek is a unique specimen among his clan, a little different from the rest, which is fine because how boring would that be if they were all the same? One of those new things is the Yautja Codex, which we got our first peek at in Killer of Killers. Badlands gives us another look at these biblical commandments that guide the entire culture of the hunters. And even though there was a divided reaction to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch and Danny Glover's Harrigan showing up in a post-release post-credit Killer of Killers scene, which I believe set the record for the furthest post-credits a post-credit scene has ever landed, I like what Trachtenberg and his team are doing here. There's something to be said for not revealing too much of your monster, though. It's the don't show the shark rule of filmmaking. But as much as the last 3 entries in this franchise have added to the lore, there's still plenty we don't know about the Yautja. But Trachtenberg isn't only interested in breaking new ground. Badlands makes great use of everything Predators have done to be interesting in the 40 years since that original ugly motherfucker first blew up a jungle and all the special ops badasses in it. The thing Badlands seems to understand better than anything is that there are only so many ways you can do, oh no, what are these giant things that are trying to kill us, before that well runs dry. After all, there are literally decades worth of movies that failed to live up to the first one. Dan Trachtenberg cracked the code a little with Prey by giving the protagonist something to prove. Killer of Killers took it the next step by digging a little further into the culture of the Predators, and the natural progression is putting a Yautja in the protagonist's seat with a chip on his shoulder. These 3 movies are almost an equation. Prey multiplied by Killer of Killers equals Badlands. Predator Badlands is getting an 8. Dan Trachtenberg is heading in an interesting direction with this franchise, and he gets bonus points for that. The Predator as a mysterious murder monster is getting some of his backstory filled in, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Badlands and shifting the perspective to a Yautja main character actually highlights what's been great about this franchise in its better moments. Dek and Thea are an unexpectedly fun pairing that bring a new energy to the franchise, and an altogether different kind of hunt. It might not be pulling the skull and spine out of us and screaming in bloody victory, but it gets close. Predator Badlands' IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest Predator Badlands updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.